People. Right, today's video, let's get into it. We're talk about actions and reactions. It's something I talk about a lot. I talk about emotions a lot because for a lot of us, we keep these things in because we think that's the way to do it. We think if I don't say things, it doesn't make me seem bad, or I'm not negative. I'm not, and we put all these negative connotations on things, so therefore we keep things in. But I always talk about actions and reactions. One, because sometimes we're not really realizing our actions, we're not processing our actions, and what we're not doing is processing our reactions, because sometimes it's the reactions that we justify. We apologize for our actions, but anything we react to, we don't apologize, because we go, but I reacted because of this. I did this because of this. This only happened because of this. And actually, whether it's actions or reactions, the truth of it is it's always a reaction to something. So whether you're reacting, someone's reacted to what they thought was an action. It's just a vicious circle. It just goes around and around. And it's important that we understand this. We have to understand this with ourselves, because it's only when you understand that with yourself can you understand it with other people. And then that kind of makes, you're able to kind of rationalize your thoughts and rationalize how you feel. One of the things I could say I've definitely learned in the last couple of years is there's this almost like, this good and bad, or positive and negative. And when it comes to our feelings, we do the same thing. Where does it fit? And actually, do you know what? It doesn't matter, because the time and the effort you spend on realizing where it fits is the time that you've not looked at what's next. What are your next steps? What do you next need to accomplish? So I want you to take a second and I want you to think about what your values are, what your goals are, and I want you to think about your actions first and foremost. So for example, if I put this into context for myself. So my goal is to create a life that I never thought I could have. Now that comes in many different forms. That comes in potentially moving areas, potentially moving countries. I don't believe in the work 9 to 5. I'm a workaholic, and I've got to that point where I'm okay with that. I'm that person that if I like to create things, I will work extra anyway. If I'm studying, I'll work extra. So for me, working 80 hours a week is fine, but I want to be able to see that in value. I want to be able to see that and it reflects in my income. I no longer want to work 80 hours and then I'm like, wait, hold on, my pay's the same. That doesn't make any sense to me anymore. Not knocking anybody else that's doing it, but those are some of my goals that I want. So the actions, what am I actively taking? So I'm learning. And it's not like I'm learning this year. I was learning last year. It's a continuous journey. And I know now that I will never stop learning. And I'm okay with that. Before I used to say, oh, I didn't have this. I didn't have this degree, or I didn't study. I left school at this. And do you know what? I didn't have the luxury that everybody had. And that's okay now. I understand that. Before I used to see that as a big imperfection. I'm not good enough because I didn't have this. Guess what? I got it. I can do it. And it's when you understand that all the things that you want, your goals, and you look at what your actions are, what are you actively doing to change these things, it changes. Because you have to make a decision. You make a decision, and guess what? It's either you act on it or you don't. There's no in between. Or you may act on it, and like for me, actually, I was very inconsistent. So I did, but very inconsistently did I apply what was necessary. Or let's say very inconsistently I followed my steps. Let's say it's not that I wasn't following steps, very inconsistently. So where I could have been taking steps, I'd wait for whatever reason. Who knows? And then my reactions. Now for me, I've realized that it's my reactions were one of the biggest things that I wasn't aware of. Because as I said, my reactions or our reactions are the things we justify, because we justify, I'm like this because this happened in my life, or I'm like this because you acted this way, or I'm like this because I've been hurt in the past. I'm like this, I don't trust easy because this. Anyone said that? Put my hands up. No, I have. And actually, everything is still a choice. Everything you do, every reaction is still a choice. Every reaction is still an action. So regardless whether you want to put the in front of it, it makes no difference. So what I'm going to ask you is think about we're heading into 2021, and I know for a lot of people, they would have done this process and then Corona hits and they're like, oh well, what's the point? Just shows you don't plan. That's, again, it's all a choice. But what I want you to do is to think about, as we're heading into 2021, think about your actions. Think about your reactions. And this is not an exercise that for you to beat yourself up. This is not an exercise for you to beat anybody else up. This is an exercise just for you to look at what is. Live in the present, live in the moment, just what is. I came across a couple of years ago, I was studying something to do with coaching. And the lecturer said, was talking about emotions, and then went on to talk about anger. And he said, anger is just misplaced passion. And at first I was like, I didn't understand what he was saying. And what I realized as he went to explaining it, and it really resonated with me, what I realized was, have you ever come across somebody that's angry about something they don't care about? Because I've never done that. I've never met someone like that. I don't think it happens. If you don't care, it's not going to bother you. Now, what I am saying, again, I'm not trying to say it's good or bad. Be aware of it. Because it's when you're aware of it, and I talk about this all the time, within my coaching, that's the first step. When you're aware of it, then you can understand how it manifests, how it manipulates, distorts. You can understand and you can become aware of what needs to change. And sometimes it's just how you feel. So that's fine. But how do you control it? How does it gear you? Because a bit of anger there's nothing wrong with it. A bit of guilt is nothing wrong with it. A bit of shame is nothing wrong with it. It's just they're just feelings. There's nothing wrong with feelings. There's nothing wrong with emotions. And it's funny because, again, we do this thing. I'm not emotional. It's females that are emotional. Or if you're a guy, it's not me. It's okay. We're all human beings. And guess what? Being a human being means you are an emotional being. Your body is full of emotions. You feel all the time. If you learn how to stand still, to actually be still, you'll realize that even with you being still, there's always movement. For some of you didn't catch that, but it's all good. So yeah, that's what I wanted to leave you with today, is to really think about your actions and your reactions and look at how do they align with the things you say you want. We are coming into a new year. And one of the things I never promote is do the whole new year, new me. There is no new you. Yeah, because guess what? You didn't wake up and forget and lose all those experiences. There can be a better you. That's something to aim for. Leaving you with that, people. Take care. Be blessed.